You are with me in the serial program of Blossoming Beijing. I'm now in a garden, and currently is the moment to enjoy the flowers of magnolia. And you can see that in the softer breeze of the spring season, you can smell the fragrance of the magnolia. I'm now in the Heavenly Temple. This is one of the best sites that admire the magnolia flowers. Today, I've also invited one special guest with me, a great expert, Madam Lee. Please say hi to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the park of the Heavenly Temple. In this garden, we can see that the magnolia trees are among the first trees to give us the blooming flowers. And according to the older generation, when the magnolia flowers are there, it means the spring is already around us. Actually, we can find the origin of this magnolia tree by the river basin of the Yangtze River, but still we can move it to the northern part of China, for example, in Beijing. Yeah, I agree with you. When the magnolia flowers are with us, then the spring is already in the city. And we can also use the magnolia as a metaphor to describe the talent with very good personalities. On the tree, you can see tens of thousands of flowers, and they have a very beautiful white color. And from afar, we even wonder whether it's a tree of magnolia or a tree of lotus. And there's a famous poet from the old dynasties writing poems about the magnolias. And on the tree, you can find different status of the flowers. Some are in full blooming status, and some others are still in preparation. Yes, exactly. Especially by the terminals of the branches, you can see the earliest flowers because they are outreaching and they have their advantaged position to receive more temperature, more heat, and more sunshine. And the whole piece of plant can resist to low temperature. And you can also find some smaller buds. The flower in the shape of the bud, they also look like the brushes for Chinese calligraphy. We also have this small statue of the monkeys, and the fur of the monkey in this artisan craftsmanship work is from the buds of the magnolia. So we are now in a garden that is named as a garden of hundreds of flowers. So as what we can tell from the name of this garden, we have different varieties of flowers here. More exactly, we have more than 60 species of different flowers like the plum trees, and also we have the cherry blossoms, crabapples, etc. So all those flowers and the trees, they are here to decorate the whole garden. So this tree, it's still in preparation for the full blooming. And you can tell that even though they are located in the same garden, they still have to be adapted to the smaller microclimate inside this garden. Sometimes the trees, they are hidden by the taller buildings, so they would be late in blooming, and some other trees, they are fully exposed to sunshine and heat, so they would be early comers for the blossoming. So that is what we call the micro weather or microclimate inside the same area. In early spring in Beijing, we have a lot of windy days, and the wind would carry away a great amount of temperature. That's why on the same surface of land, the different trees and bushes, they would become the result of different microclimates. And you also can find a lot of pavilions inside. That is the pavilion named after the name of the garden. So it's a pavilion of hundreds of flowers. That pavilion has been moved to this garden in 1978 and is covered with the orange as well as the green tiles. Inside, you can also find traditional pictures of the flowers. So this is also one building with a rather long history. But today we will not limit our journey inside this garden, so let's continue with the trip. Previously, I've recommended our site to our viewers as one of the best places to enjoy the flowers of magnolia because, as you have explained previously, this is a place with diversity of microclimates. So here you can see different stages of the blooming of the flowers. And once you move around inside the garden, already you can see the various landscapes and also the blooming trees. And on our way here, we can find the greeneries. So all those are trees with a rather long history. It's quite rare for us to find these huge size of this variety of tree in Beijing. And what about that flower? It's the forsythia. It's rather small and the reason why I recommend this place for you to see the magnolia flower, first of all, is because you can enjoy different stages of blooming of the flowers. And second is that you can enjoy also the architectural buildings. For example, previously the pavilion with the traditional styles of the tiles. And Madam Lee, could you please give us more knowledge about the magnolia? First of all, they will give the flowers and later on the leaves, right? Yes, exactly. Even in the cold season of winter, they have already started the preparation of the buds of flowers. Because when they start early with the flowers, they have greater possibility to attract more insects to spread the pollen. And in early spring, the bees and the other insects, they would immediately be attracted by the fragrance of the flowers, and they will come and help to carry the pollen of the flowers. And now we are approaching one palace. It's towards the southern gate of the garden of hundreds of flowers. And how big is the area of that palace? With 40,000 square meters. It's built in 1420. Now we can see a river surrounding the palace. There are three major parts of the palace. Maybe we can turn up our camera, over there it's also a blooming tree of magnolia. And here already we can see the beautiful painting on the wall in blue color and also the green tiles. In the painting, you can see different patterns, including the pattern of flowers, with the petals of the flowers. On this way, I feel like I was entering an ancient painting. Last week, we felt that we are in a misty ink and water traditional painting of the Chinese dynasties, but today we come here again. It's a sunny day. Immediately the atmosphere has changed and it gave us different feeling. And this is a very quiet place. Our ancestors built up this palace for the fasting, and it's also used by the emperors. The fasting temples or the fasting palace, they have already recognized a very long history. And we can also find some poems by ancient poets describing the beauty of the magnolia and the other spring flowers. And the workers, what are they doing here? On my way here, I've already noticed the special shape of the tree. And what is the name of this tree? This is the pagoda tree. We are doing the spring cutting of the tree so that we can help the tree to grow in a healthier manner, and also we can make them look better. What is the frequency of the cutting? For example, our workers, they are holding a special tool to cut the branches of the trees. For example, for the dead branches, we have to take them off. We have to cut them off so that we can keep the trees in good shape and our visitors can have more pretty trees to enjoy. And in winter, we also do some cutting so that we can reduce the burden of the trees. They can save more energy so that by the coming spring, they can have enough energy to give more burdens. This is the great craftsman of the city. In 2023, he has also won the Golden Prize from a competition of the gold scissors for the cutting of the trees. So I can have a guess you have a lot of talented workers, like this gentleman working in the garden of the Heavenly Temple. Otherwise, we won't never have the opportunity to see these beautiful trees and the other vegetation. Thank you so much for your introduction. So for this pagoda tree, you've mentioned that in spring and winter, you have to do some cutting. And what about the magnolia? Magnolia trees, they have a preference for the sunshine and also the heat. Usually they would take a break during winter time, but during that break, we will also carry out some cutting of the magnolia. So let's go closer and have a look at the beautiful trees of the magnolia. Previously, we only captured half of the picture because we were outside the palace previously, and we could only see the top section of that magnolia tree. And this tree is taller than what we have noticed previously inside the garden of the Heavenly Temple. And now here it is in front of us, and you can see it's in great harmony with the traditional building and the architectural style of the Chinese palace walls. The magnolia tree can not only give us beautiful flowers, but also it's a great provider of high-quality wood. It's in interesting shape. Now, from our camera, you can see the white flowers as well as the red walls, and also the green tiles of the building and its blue paintings. And inside this courtyard, you can also find a different view. And we are not alone, because by our side, we are surrounded by many visitors from the city. They come to the spot to take pictures of the flowers. So now you have multiple colors here. You have the white, the red, the green, the blue. It's the mixture of cold and warm colors. And now you can also see the sunshine spilling over the tree branches and flowers of magnolia. In Song Dynasty and the Ming Dynasty, we have a lot of literates, for example, Mr. Wen Zhengming, writing poems about the magnolia. One of the famous scholars has even referred to magnolia as the fairy ladies. In another poem, it's described that the magnolia flowers are just like the heavenly ladies coming down from the paradise. And some of the magnolia flowers in full blossoming, they look like the crowns. The magnolias can give us very huge pieces of flowers. They have 9 petals. Usually 9 pieces are in similar shapes and size. And each flower can have a size of 6 to 9 centimeters. I'm talking about magnolia in our traditional culture. It's also the symbol of richness. Because the Chinese name of magnolia is Bai Yulan, and the middle character of the 3 characters, it's the same word to describe the jade. So that's why people think it's also a very good symbol of richness, wealth. In traditional paintings, you can also find the painters including the symbol of magnolia. It's the symbol for wealth, property, as well as the good luck. And today, the ordinary people, if they have the place to grow some trees, and they can also keep one magnolia tree inside the courtyard. And one more thing, the magnolia can be used as one ingredient in the traditional Chinese medicine. And this one can also give us the different stages of the magnolia. Some are in full blossoming, and some others are still in the stage of the buzz. If you still remember that statue of the monkeys, the fur of the monkeys, they are from the magnolia buzz. Now we are taking a walk in this fasting palace. And there are also some birds landing on the branches of the magnolia. And those are the magpies. They are also attracted by the magnolia. Magnolia flowers are in very elegant shape, and they represent the wealth, property, richness in our traditional culture, and they are in wonderful match with the nearby buildings in red color and also in green tiles. What about the history of this temple of fasting? To give you more knowledge, we have invited an expert here to give us the introduction to this palace. Please say hi to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liu Xing. So, Madam Liu, previously we've taken a walk here to enjoy the magnolia. So, could you please share with us the history of this whole building? This whole palace has a history of more than 600 years. It's been built in 1420. We have a map of this whole place. For this fasting palace, it's located inside the Temple of Heaven. Every year in mid-spring, the Emperor of China would come to this place to pray for a good harvest and also to honor the heaven. Towards the western side of the Temple of Heaven, it's our Palace of Fasting. I have a question for you, Madam Liu. Usually for the traditional temples and also traditional buildings, they would be facing south. But this one is facing east. Yes, exactly. You've been very careful in your observation. In our old dynasties, the emperors are considered as the son of the god, the son of the heaven. So the temples of worship to heaven, they are facing the south. And this fasting palace is the symbol of the emperor. So this palace should not be located by the axis, but to its side. This is one of the hall. It's made of bricks and stones. And this is a hall building without the beam, because it's fully constructed by stones and bricks. That's why we don't need the beams. And thanks to this disappearing beams, you can find this whole place very elegant and simplistic. And you can also find a screen there. This is an old object. Yes, it's from the years of the Qianlong, emperor of the Qing dynasty. And you can find the relief sculpture of 9 dragons playing with a ball or a pole. And you can also read some picture of the ordinary people working on the farmlands, because by that period of time, people have this great level of attention attached to agricultural development. And here you also can find a piece of calligraphy made by the Qianlong emperor of the Qing dynasty. The 4 characters are saying that we have to respect the rule of the nature and the rule of heaven. We have to follow the rule, and then we have to show our respect to the heaven. And the tiles are in green color. Usually in working places and residences of emperors, you can see most of the tiles, they are usually in the yellow color, but here it's different. It's in green color. Yes, exactly. The yellow color is only allowed in the imperial places. And here, because we use the green color, it's inferior to that imperial status. So we should not use the yellow color here. Instead, we use the green. Before the worshipping of the heaven, usually the emperors and also the other officials, they would respect 3 days of fasting. Because according to the ancient rules, before the worshipping of the heaven, you have to change your diet habits. And that's why today, by the side of the palace where the ancient emperors were worshipping the heaven, you can also find the fasting halls, the fasting temples, because we think that if you do the fasting, then you don't take anything for 3 days, you keep the body clean and also your mind clean. If your mind is clean, then you are ready to worship the God and worship the heaven. And here there's also a stone pavilion. We put up a statue here. This is a way to remind ourselves. This is a statue established by the first emperor of the Ming Dynasty, Mr. Zhu Yuanzhang. It's a statue of bronze, and it's a kind of warning to everyone that you have to strictly follow the rules during the worshipping of the heaven. Thank you very much, Madam Liu, for your introduction about the beautiful fasting temple and also the previous magnolia flowers. Maybe you have already started your preparation of the trip to the garden of this heavenly temple. Very soon is the vacation of 3 days. You can come here to enjoy the crabapples, the peach blossoms, and also the magnolia flowers. And by one side of our garden, you can also find a cluster of flowers of the cloves with an age of more than 60 years old, and also a number of trees of 150. Now I'd like to give the floor to my colleague to continue the trip with all of you. And dear viewers of the CCTV News, good afternoon to all of you. My name is He Chang. After admiring the magnolia in the Temple of Heaven, I would like to show to you the plum blossoms by the ancient city wall of the Ming Dynasty. This is a very precious place to admire the plum blossoms. Why is that? Before sharing with you the explanations, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Li Jun, an expert of the protection of ancient sites. Please say hi to everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Li Jun. So just now we were talking about this place as one of the most precious places to admire the plum blossoms. Maybe the first reason to make this place special is that we have the city walls surrounding the flowers. It's from the dynasty of Ming. And thanks to the city wall, we can block the cold weather from the northern regions. Usually, we keep the plum trees in southern part of China where the temperature can be generally higher. But here, thanks to the city wall of the Ming Dynasty, we can block out all these cold winds, the temperature. We can have this warm corner to allow their existence. And this is one of the best protected cornered and squared pavilions here. What is so special about this building? It used to be one place for the defense, for the national defense, right? Yes, you can see that it has 4 stories. And we have 144 windows from which you can make an observation to see whether there are dangers coming near. Outside the tall building, there's no trees. And even further, you can see it's surrounded by the river. And the whole height of this area is 29 meters, which allows us to see the invasion of the enemies in old days. And very luckily, we have kept these city walls from the Ming dynasties from until now. And what has made this place prettier is this cluster of the plum trees. And we have also made it into one site of tourist attraction. The name of this place is the New Spring of the ancient city, because as I have explained to all of you, you have this city wall from the Ming dynasty and also the tower building. And then to the other side, you can see the signs of spring here with the early blossoming plum flowers. And we can have a closer look at the flowers. This one is in full bloom. The name of this species, or the name of this variety, is called the queen of the bee, the bee queen. They have a high density of the flowers and a high quantity of the flowers. For each unit of the flower is also in very big size. And this one has also a relationship with the apricot tree. Because one natural tree of plum would not be so tall, this one has a height of 2 to 3 meters. If you can carry out a comparison from this bee queen variety of plum tree and the other ordinary varieties, and you can see the difference in terms of the branches and also the position of the flowers. For that variety of the bee queen, and usually the flowers would be closer to the end of the branches. For the apricot trees, it's almost simultaneous delivery of flowers and leaves. But for the plum trees, first of all, you can see the flowers, and after that, it's the season for the leaves. Now we are passing by a small area. It's a site of tourist attraction named New Spring in the ancient city. We have a total distance of 1.5 kilometers from east to west. Along the way, we have 3 sites of major attraction of tourists. And we are on our way to a second site. We also call that place a flower sea. And how is that? We're about to get to the site, but on our way, we can continue with our communication discussion. On our side, you can see the tall city wall from the old days of the Ming Dynasty. And there are different sections when you look at the facade more closely. Some parts of the city walls, they are still in the original form. For example, you can see the old bricks. And then we have also reconstructed some parts. For example, with the darker color of the bricks and the whiter color with the connection lines, this is the new part of the reconstruction. Even though we are standing at a certain distance from the city wall, we can still tell the style of the craftsmanship in constructing the city wall. This is to guarantee that even though we are reconstructing a new part to the city wall, but still we are respecting the original style of the building. And for each line of the bricks, you can find the longer bricks and also the smaller bricks. And one piece of the brick is in the direction of east and west, and another is north-south. That's why sometimes you can see the longer side and some other times the shorter side of the brick. And among different layers of bricks, you also have to create some structure to make sure that all the bricks, they are put together in a very close manner. And now we have arrived at the second spot of the tourist attraction. And what is the name of this variety of the plum? It's called the green plum. For most of the plum trees here, we can use the color to name them. For example, we have the green plum trees and also the white plum trees. We can also find the pinkish ones. It's called the jade butterflies. Because for this one, if you look closely at its petals of the flower, you can see that each piece of the petal looks like the wing of the butterfly. And what about the greenish ones? It's more like whitish greenish, and also with a little bit yellow color. But with this one, you cannot find any red color or pink color here. And due to the lighting condition, it may be difficult for you to tell the difference from the two. But if you are on the spot, it's quite easy to separate the two varieties of the plum trees. For the jade butterfly variety, it's more pinkish. You can find the tone of red color inside. Just now, we mentioned that we have transplanted or transferred a lot of plum trees from southern part of China to northern part of China, to Beijing, and now in this garden. Actually, this is a variety of trees or a family of trees from the Yangtze River basins. In Beijing, to make sure that the flowers can be adapted to the cold weather, we have to have more patience. We have to take several steps of the journey. For example, now if you take the tree out of the soil from southern part of China and then you take it to Beijing, and then you cannot see a very good tree growing. So first of all, when you dig the tree out from southern part of China, you make a break, you make a stop on its way to Beijing. For example, first of all, they can make a stop in Henan province, and then step by step, they would move closer to northern part of China until Beijing. Like that, we can adapt these plum trees to the cold, the weather area. And for the species named like the jade butterflies and also the palace pink, those two varieties, they are the best players to be adapted to the soil of Beijing. For this plum blossom, this used to be a variety of the jade butterfly, but you can also see a pink petal here, but just one petal of that. This is a combination or the marriage of the two varieties between the jade butterfly and the palace pink. For example, over there, on the same branch of the plum tree, you can find at the same time the greenish plum and also the palace pink. So it means that the DNA is flowing inside the body of the plant. You can make the transplanting of the branches from one variety of trees into the other, and then when the tree grows bigger, after years of growth, then you can find different colors on different branches of the same tree. And then till the end, you can find this change of color within one single piece of the flower. For the cultivation of the trees, we have noticed the description of plum trees in ancient painting. In those paintings, we can find just several flowers, a few flowers on a big tree of plum. So you have more bare branches than the flowered ones. But today is quite the opposite what we have seen in this garden. All those branches, they are covered by the blossoming flowers. And why is that? First of all, it's a type of plant with medium size. It's not too big, it's not too small. So we have decided to carry out the marriage between the apricot trees and the plum trees. For example, we take the apricot tree as the base, and then we can put the branches of the plum trees onto that base of apricot tree. And when it continues, all the flowers given by this tree would be the plum trees. However, because we have this foundation of the apricot trees, then it can give the quality of resistance to cold temperature and the strength to this whole tree. Then the final result is that you can still have the plum tree on the top, on the upper section, but all the flowers, they can be better nourished and they are in big quantity. And for this one, for the blossoming and also the burgeon of leaves, they are in different seasons. Currently, the temperature has mounted up, so it's almost the end of the flowering season. So it's almost time for the leaves. And another reason for that is because it's a mixture of the apricot tree and the plum tree. And for the apricot tree, they have the capacity to deliver at the same time the flowers and the leaves. So for this transplanted plant trees with the DNA of the apricot tree here, you can see during the flowering seasons some of the burgeon of the leaves. And we can also say that the DNA expression of the apricot tree would be stronger than the plant trees. My last question would be that why do we cultivate the plant trees by the side of the ancient city wall of Ming Dynasty? Previously, we have planted a large surface of grassland by the foot of the city wall of the Ming Dynasty because we would like to best represent the beauty of the city wall. But later we discovered that this is not the best way to conserve the environment. We still have to introduce more trees. So we have created several versions of experiments with the trees. For example, peach trees and apricot trees and also the plum trees. According to our experiment, we find out that plum trees would be the best choice for this area because thanks to the blockade of the city wall from the Ming Dynasty, we can have a very good microclimate here. And even in cold days of the early spring, the flowers would already appear on the branches of the plum trees. So that's why we have a majority of plum trees here. And there is also some mysterious link between the plum trees and also the Ming city wall. Across the city of Beijing, we have different locations for the cultivation of the plum trees, but it's only by the side of the main city walls that we have the best delivery of plum flowers. And my last question for you, for the Plum Blossom Festival, how long would it last? It would last until mid-April, maybe around the 15th of April. So mid-April would be the end of the blossoming season. So if you do the calculation, then now is the best season, the best moment to enjoy the plum flowers. If you would like to discover more beauty of the plum trees, then you have to come in person. That is all for my part, but the journey is not finished. I'd like to give the microphone to my colleague to enjoy the crabapple flowers in another place of Beijing. Dear viewers of CCTV News, previously, my colleague has introduced the plum flowers, the plum blossom to all of you. Now I'd like to show to you the potted crabapples to all of you. Some of the crabapple flowers, they have fully blossomed, but some others are still in the status of bud. In order to have more knowledge about this plant, we have invited an expert from Taoranting. Please say hi to everyone. Dear viewers of CCTV News, My name is Wang Meng, senior engineer of the Taoranting Garden. Previously, we have shared this potted crab apple with everyone. Could you please give us more introduction? This is the fully selected species. It's in very vivid color. It has a long period of blossoming. And we call it the crab apple of longevity. You use the word longevity because it can last very long, the flowers. Yes, exactly. And for this one, there are only leaves without any flowers. And why is that? And we have different varieties of the crab apples. And also there are different families of the crab apples. For this bigger one, it's more like to the family of the apples. It's waiting for the blossoming season. It will not be kept in a pot. Instead, usually it will be kept in the ground. During the upcoming 3-day holiday, you can come to our garden to enjoy the flowers, because usually this plant would give flowers in the first half of April. If you would like to enjoy the crabapple flowers, where should we go? If you would like to enjoy the potted crab apples, you can see these crabapple of longevity. And I can also show you one place to enjoy more crabapple flowers. And just now your colleagues told me that inside this Taoranting garden, you have a lot of trees of the crabapple. On our way to our destination, what are the varieties and how many trees will we see? This is the crabapple of Xifu. Xifu is one of the best-known variety of the crabapple. We have the Xifu and the Cuisi. When you enjoy the Xifu crabapple, you can discover that they have a very elegant and beautiful shape of the tree. It's like a very young lady standing in front of you. And secondly, you can look at the buds of the flowers. Now the buds are already in place. And gradually the buds will grow bigger. It looks as if it's decorated by some cosmetic products. During the upcoming 3-day holiday, if we can have some rainy days, then we can have the chance to see the gently falling down petals of the crabapple flowers. You have mentioned that we have 4 best-known varieties of the crabapples. Apart from the 4 best-known varieties, we also have dozens of other varieties with in total 3,000 crabapple trees inside. You can find the origin of the crabapple trees in China. In the 18th century, it's been introduced to Northern America. And then, due to the effort of the marriage of trees, the transplantation, they have developed the other modern varieties of the crabapples. And then we have reintroduced those modernized varieties of crabapples. So those modern variety of crabapples, they are the crabapple varieties coming from China and then visiting the foreign countries and then returning to their motherland. It's like the Chinese students going abroad to study for a period of time, then they come back to the motherland. And here is a different variety of the crabapple. They have very long branches, and they also have the bud hanging down. What makes this variety different from the previous Shifu crabapple is that this one gives the hanging flowers, so the bud of the flowers are not directly attached to the branches, not as what we have discovered with the Shifu crabapple trees. And here in your garden, why this preference for the crabapple? One poet has given high remarks to the crabapples. This also is a symbol of the traditional culture. Years ago, we have designated the flower of crabapple as the symbol of our garden too. Every year in spring, you organize the activity of flowers. And what is the theme of this year? In 2015, we organized the first festival of the crabapple blossoming festival. This year, we're about to celebrate the 9th edition. From the northern gate to the eastern gate, we have created a classic route for the admiration of crabapple trees, and we have also created 2 sites for the nighttime admiration of the crabapple trees. And where are they? One of the sites is just in front of us. We have also created some areas to demonstrate ancient poems about the crabapples. For example, over there, it's a lighting system. If you come by the nighttime, then you can read the lines of the poems from one female poet called Li Qingzhao, describing the beauty of the crabapple flowers. And when you have a rainy day, then the breeze of the spring season would carry down some of the softer petals of the crabapple. Today is also a beautiful day during which you can take some time from your calendar to come to the Tarantine Garden to enjoy the crabapple trees. And in our traditional culture, we believe that the crabapple flowers, they are like the fairy ladies or like angels. And there is also a curious phenomenon about the crabapple. Here you have this exposition of the potted crabapple. Inside, we have more than a dozen of varieties, and in total, more than 50 pots of the crabapple. And this one, we have already visited one of its cousins. It's the hanging blossoming. As you can see, the buds, they are growing heavier and bigger in size, so they start to hang down. And this is the longevity crabapple. Previously, you mentioned that first of all, the flowers would appear and then the leaves would follow. For example, from this potted plant, you can see much bigger size of the blossom of the crabapple, but smaller cluster of the leaves. And this one is in greenish color, and I'm so curious about the color. Could you please give us some explanation? The crabapple usually can have a very long duration of the blossoming. And for this variety, during the early days of the blossoming, they can already start to deliver a tune of green color. So this is a special variety. For example, usually you can see the whitish color, or the pinkish color, or even the reddish color of the crabapple flowers, but suddenly you run into a tree of the green blossom of the crabapple. That's very interesting. And with this potted plant is also very attractive because on the same tree, you can find different colors of flowers. We have selected this plant. One reason is that we have made some selection of the variety, and another reason is the sunshine. For example, for this part of the white color blossom, maybe this year it's in whitish color, but next year when the lighting conditions change, it can give you a different color. And also, within one unit of flower, you can also discover multiple colors. This is also the result of our selection and cultivation. With its petals, you can see the foundation is a very gentle pinkish color. But then you can see the spilling red color. So this is the double color crabapple blossom. It's quite special, and it's not a natural result of the trees. It's the result of our selection. And we can move ahead to see other pots of the crabapple plants. In the past, I have also discovered some small pots of the trees, for example, but never this crabapple varieties. So could you please give us more introduction to these? We have the micro version of the potted crabapple flowers. So I would give you an idea of how small it is, just the size of my palm. So you can put it in the house by the side of your bed, by the side of on the table, etc. We have two categories. One is with that variety of longevity. For example, with the cut branches, you can make a potted landscape of this. And it's growing very slowly. So this makes it suitable for this small potted plants. You have vivid color of the flowers and also slim leaves. If you take good care of it, then it can give you flowers throughout the year for all 4 seasons. For different varieties of the crabapple flowers, you can always find different colors, the white, the pink, the orange, the red. And with cluster of the small version of potted crabapple flowers, you can see a various aspect of spring season. And this is the potted plant with a long history. For those potted plants, some are made from the transplantation, some are just based on natural plants. So for the roots, this is an old root. This one has a history of 50 years, so that's why we call it old root. This one is growing very slow. And for the other one, because that variety belongs to the apple family, it would be growing much faster. So actually, this plant is older than me. I hope that this tree would keep growing healthily so we can have more flowers from his side. And for this one, it's called the green precious stone. You can see very cute buds of flowers. What is the spot of attraction? We can only admire its buds. We have different stages of the buds. Already in the early days of the bud of the crabapple flowers, you can start to admire it. And later on, when the growth continues, then these greenish buds would give you white flowers. Currently, we can have the green color, and it's also the explanation for its name, the green precious stone. But later on, when the flowers are blooming, it's in white color. This one is called the red of the era. Could you please give us more explanation of this? This is one of the best varieties of the crabapples. It's in the salmon color, in light orange, and you have multiple layers of petals. And the shape of the flower is also beautiful. Looks like the peony, and the whole branches can give us the flowers. You also have the freshly cut flowers. For example, to celebrate the Lunar New Year of China, we would buy some freshly cut flowers and to have some flower arrangement in the house to bring the spring season inside the house. Can I have a try? Yes, of course. And could you please give me some teachings, some instructions? Yes, of course. It's my honor. First of all, you take the scissors. If you do the flower arrangement in your house, you have to do the fixation. You have to consider the size of the opening of the vase and also the shape of your flowers. For example, now we're about to put the branches of the crabapples inside, so you also have to add up some other branches. First of all, we put the larger trunks of branches inside. First of all, you can get this one in. This is to support or to fixate the later branches of the crabapples. You just cut a little bit in 45 degrees, and then you put it in. It's also to fixate and to support the crabapple branches. If you have a bigger mouth of the bottle, then you can put even more branches of these. And then you can put the crabapple branches inside. And this variety gives you the hanging crabapple flowers. You can put it to the front because it's shorter. And then with a median size, with a median height, you can put it to the side and then a longer one. And then you have to put it to the opposite direction. Because to do the flower arrangement, you have to keep an eye on the 3D arrangement of the flowers. You can have the lower, the median, and higher position of the flowers. So if you do this arrangement of flowers at home, you can also remember this rule. So first, you put the shorter branches, and then the median size, and finally the longest branch. And what is the meaning for the crabapple flowers? In our ancient legend, it is said that it's a flower left by Chang'e, a fairy lady. It can give you good luck. And another thing, because the color is very gentle, it looks like it's made of crystal and it's very delicate, and it can give you happiness. It's also the symbol of the emotional attachment. This is another work of the flower arrangement. And the flowers used here are of the variety of longevity crabapple. And this is the potted flower arrangement. We have also added some moss and some bushes here. If I take the work of these home, how can I maintain them? What are the tips for maintenance? Because those flowers are resistant to cold temperature. You just water them once a week. If you have very high temperature and sufficient sunshine, then every 5 days you water the flowers. And for this potted scenery and landscape, even in the open air, you can keep them. Those are the hanging flowers of a special variety of our crabapple trees. It's hanging down and it's very delicate and elegant. When you look at the hanging flowers of the crabapple, it's like you are looking at one fairy lady. Some people, they are having some difficulty of this, a crabapple. One recommendation for you is to not do some extra transplanting. You take this one home and you put it there, and you don't need to dig them out of the pot and put it in a new pot. It would just damage the roots and the growth of these crabapple trees. What are the other activities for the admiration of the crabapple? I've invited one of the personnel here to introduce all those events to our viewers. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Li Hui Ying. You have a card with you. And what is that for? It's a guiding map for the blossoming festival of the crabapple trees. Previously, I followed all your program. I noticed that you have visited the northern route of crabapple admiration, and now I'd like to show to you the eastern route. When you get out of this exhibition hall, you continue, you can get to this lakeside building. There is an exhibition of water and ink, traditional Chinese painting. You can enter this garden through the northern gate or the eastern gate. It's very easy for you to find this exhibition site. So we have not only the exhibition of flowers, but also the exhibition of paintings about the flowers. So here you can enjoy both the flowers and the paintings about them. And then there's an exhibition of ancient poems and also the lines. Just now, Madam Wang has also introduced different lines of the poems hanging down from the branches of the trees. And in the ancient dynasties, one famous literate called Su Shi has written in a poem saying that I'm afraid during the nighttime the crabapple blossoms would sleep. So I have to light up the candle to admire the flowers even in the night. And here we have also set up some tourist attractions with the thematic crab apples. We have also organized activities of knowledge sharing with the general public. And here is a fan. Is it made by your garden, or we can have some DIY? Yes, of course, DIY is possible here. This is one part of our cultural experience festivals here. We invite the general public to enjoy the flowers here and also draw the flowers by themselves. I have one more question. Do you have some secret sites, some private sites for the crabapple flowers? This is a photo from last year. I took the photo by the eastern gate of the garden. Those are the crabapple trees on the ground. You can also find a similar cluster of planted crabapple trees after the entrance through the northern gate of the garden. Just now, we have followed the guidelines of the personnel here. We have a better understanding of the routes to visit the garden and to enjoy the flowers. Currently, it's really beautiful weather outside in Beijing, and I think you should not miss the wonderful moment and enjoy the flowers by yourself. Now I'd like to give the floor to my colleague to enjoy some other sections of the Sea of Flowers. Dear viewers of CCTV News, my name is Wei Tong. Currently is the blossoming season for Beijing. All the trees, they are awakened and they're delivering the flowers. Here you can take the subway S2 line to this area. And we also have the Zhuyongguan, the Great Wall by our side. So please follow me to enjoy the flowers here. First of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. Liu to all of you. Hello, everyone. My name is Liu. I'm from the publicity department of the locale. We have this pathway built along the trees. We have about a surface of 200 more of the flowers. What are the varieties? We have the apricot flowers and also the peach blossoms. Are the trees natural or artificially planted? In 2015, we have published a group of photos of the S2 subway running through a sea of flowers, and later on, a huge number of fans of photo taking came to this area to take the photos by themselves. And later on, more people are pouring into this area for the consideration of firefighting and also the safety of the visitors themselves. The local government, including the government at county level and township level, have decided to create a scenic spot. So we have, first of all, constructed this pathway for the visitors. It's the best season to admire the wildflowers of the peach blossom and apricot blossom. Usually, starting by the second half of March and the first half of April is the best moment to enjoy the flowers here. In a few days, we can see the blossoming of the apricot trees. So the blossoming season will last until mid-April. And dear viewers, I wish that you could also be here on these beautiful days to come to this Sea of Flowers by Zhuyongguan Great Wall. You can take some beautiful photos of the flowers here. And here you have this pathway built on the mountains. What is the philosophy of design of this pathway? It will not be too difficult to climb up, and it's also surrounded by flowers. First of all, we have to follow the landscape of the mountain, and then previously I mentioned that there are some fans of photo shooting coming here, so they have already discovered some best tracks to go into the mountains, so we just consolidated their routes and built up this pathway. We have also created some terraces on which people can take a break and also admire the mountain scenery. We have also prepared one map for this pathway. This is the entrance. We have a small cycle here with some terraces for the sightseeing. It's a shorter circuit. It's very convenient for people to have a quick visit, and it's along the railway. When you are up in the mountains, you can also see the railways. And then you have a second cycle, a second circuit here. It's in longer distance, during which you can enjoy more landscape and beautiful scenery. And because it's longer in distance, you can also make it into a pathway of sports. So it's a kind of exercise route. Now we're about to head towards the first terrace for sightseeing by the beginning of our live streaming. It's the closest spot to the railway. If there's a train passing by, I could even say hello to the passengers sitting in the wagons. Here we have wild peach blossoms. They are more pinkish. But for the ordinary peach blossoms, they can have different gradients of the pinkish color. Some are whitish, some are reddish. But here, it's more monotone and it's almost in the same color of the pink. And as you can see, we have a huge number of visitors. The pathway has been made accessible to the general public since the 23rd of March. It's very windy in this mountainous area, but still it cannot stop our visitors. Because we have beautiful sunshine and the visibility is satisfying, you can mount up to the mountains, enjoy the peach blossoms, and also see the trains passing by. And we also have the elderly amateurs of photo shooting coming to this place with their equipment to take some photos. Could you please recommend some best places for us to take photos? Just after the entrance, you have some small section of the pathway in parallel to the railway. So when there is a train passing by, the white color of the wagon of the train could be answering to the pinkish color of the peach blossoms. You can capture both of them in your photo. And for the line of the railway, the turning of the S2 line, you can also keep that in your picture. When the train is making the turn, it will also arbitrarily slow down so that our passengers in the wagon could have some moment to enjoy the beauty outside the window. And the train is from Huangtudian to Badaling and finally to Yanqing. There are several stops of the train. And you can also find some students. They are making the spring walk. Previously, I also observed a little bit, and I noticed some of the passengers, they are holding up their mobile phones to take the photos of the scenery outside the window. And we are on the other side of the trees, so we are taking photos of that train through the branches of the flowers. I've also heard that the pathway, since its construction, has embraced the peak year of the passenger visits. It's been made available since the 23rd of March. In these recent days, it reached the peak amount of the visitors. We would also organize a festival starting by tomorrow with a duration of 20 days. We can have a market festival here. So tomorrow when you come to this area, you can not only enjoy the flowers, the scenery of the mountains, but also a market or a fair. Different provinces of the country would send their delegation to this area with their best-known products. And this is also a way to help the distant villages to sell their agricultural products, because today we are talking about the revitalization of the countryside. If we can move the good products of the countryside into the attractions of tourists, then it would facilitate the promotion of the merchandises and also help to sell more. Can you give us more preview of tomorrow's activity? We have some musical performance, and we have created the sightseeing terraces, and also we have the market fair. And surrounding areas are also providing you with some home-based or residence-based guest rooms, so you can spend the night here after enjoying the sea of flowers. You can spend the night in the local people's house. You can do some shopping. For example, by the Badalin Great Wall, you have outlets. So various types of business is available here. If you come to visit this place, you can see so many things. For example, the Jinjiang Railway, the railway connecting Beijing and Zhangjiakou. And could you please share with us the history and the present of the Jinjiang Railway? We have two sections, the older part and the new part. Has a time span of 110 years. And the original designer of the Jinjiang Railway is a Chinese, which has made everyone of this nation really proud. Today, with the modernized section, the second section of the Jinjiang Railway, we have a higher speed available, and we Chinese people have become more proud of the nation. Over there, it's a meeting point. And that is an ancient railway station with the old part of the Jinjiang Railway. And that is the meeting point of the Great Wall with the Jinjiang Railway. It's also a meeting point between the ancient and the modernized sections of the Jinjiang Railway. The original part of the Jinjiang Railway, it's in the shape of the letter Y. But today there is a new section of the Jinjiang Railway. It's another line crossing the Y letter. How can we protect the Jinjiang ancient section after hundreds of years of utilization? It's been considered as a historical site. It's a protected site. And today, the Chinese people have a higher awareness of protection of ancient sites, the historic relics, and the historic buildings. So after 100 years of utilization, today the Jinjiang Railway is still working, and apart from the transportation function, it has become a railway towards the spring, especially that S2 line of railway is being referred to by the netizens as the railway transporting us to the spring. Towards the northern part of this area, the temperature is a little bit lower. So when our site comes to an end with this blossoming season, we can still move towards the northern part, further into the northern part to enjoy another relay of the blossoming. And you can follow our camera to see the big picture of this mountainous area, and very close to our camera now is the pinkish blossoms of the peach. Every year by this time, the visitors would mount on the great walls to enjoy the peach blossoms from a different angle. So now they are amid the flowers. And by the foot of the mountain, you can see the white tents. It's the site for tomorrow's market fair, and we are looking forward to that. Maybe you could also come to the site tomorrow or in the following days to have some personal experience yourself. And thank you, Mr. Liu, for your kind introduction. And dear viewers, you're all welcome to come to the Juyongguan site to enjoy the sea of flowers. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Now it's also the critical moment for the fight against the forest fire. If you come into the mountainous area, you have to be very careful. And as the end of my part, I'd like to hand over the microphone to my colleague. Dear viewers, thank you for staying with us. Today we are bringing you to different corners of Beijing to enjoy the blossoming season. I'm now in the Olympic Forest Park, the southern park. This is one part of the Olympic Forest Park. For example, you know, the bird's nest, and also the other stadiums of the Olympic Games. They are all inside this area of the park. And this park has also embraced the blossoming season. As you can tell from the name, all the flowers, they are around us. It's already 23rd edition of the Spring Flowers Festival. And now inside the park, about 100,000 trees are blossoming. You can find the magnolia, peach blossoms. Those are familiar flowers. And also the plum flowers. Some flowers, they are familiar daily life flowers. Some others, maybe it's the first time for us to know their name. So on our trip today in the park, we have decided to invite one guest to give us some introduction about the plants. Good afternoon, Mr. Jai. Could you please say hi to everyone? Hello, everyone. My name is Zhai Shengli. I'm the VP of the Exploration Corporation of this park. We are the green background of the 29th Olympic Games. And a lot of winter games have also taken place here. Currently, we are organizing the 13th Spring Flower Festival. Now, actually, is the best moment to come to the Olympic Forest Park to enjoy the flowers. For example, this is called the beauty plum, with its origin from the US. First of all, it will give you the flowers and later on the leaves. So this is a plant that will deliver the flowers ahead of the leaves. It comes from the US and then it's been domesticated. Today we use the beauty plum as a decoration vegetation in our park. After the blooming season, we can also enjoy the leaves. For the flowers, you can find the whitish pinkish color. And after the flowers and the leaves, there are even fruits. And the fruit is edible and is very sweet. So today for our Spring Flower Festival, this beauty plum has become a superstar. How many of these do you have? For the beauty plums, we have about 60 trees of them. And over there, you can also see some beautiful trees with light pink. Those are also plum trees. So what's the difference between these beauty plums with the traditional Chinese plums? Yes, in Chinese we have some domestic varieties, but these beauty plums, they are from foreign countries, and they can deliver flowers later than the traditional Chinese plums. The traditional Chinese plant species is called the winter sweet. Usually during the Spring Festival, you can have the winter sweet, and later it's the beauty plum. For the beauty plum, what is the moment for the blossoming? Usually by the end of March until the beginning of April. The duration of the flowers is quite short, about 1 week or maximally 10 days. So if you would like to enjoy the beauty plants that can give the scenery as the misty pinkish fog, you have to come quickly to the Olympic Forest Park. For this cluster, less than 20 trees of them. They are in the early stages of the blossoming. You can come closer to admire each flowers and also take some photos. And is also a contributor to the spring atmosphere. I believe that in your Olympic Forest Park, you have many other varieties. Previously, I mentioned that we have more than 30 varieties and more than 100,000 trees. So we can take the vehicle and get to another site to enjoy. And now we are on a shuttle bus. We are about to go deeper in the Olympic Forest Park. By our side, is the flowers that are greeting the spring. It's called the winter jasmine. And later on, it's the green peach blossoms. Since we have more than 100,000 trees of flowers here, so by mid-March until the end of May, you can have different flowers. Later on, I will also show to you the wild apricot and also another type of plum blossoms. We have been the green background for the 29th Olympic Games, because by then our slogan for the Olympic Games has one key word that is green. So we have constructed this Olympic Forest Park. This whole area has a surface of 680 hectares. It's about the double size of the Summer Palace. And the whole park has been divided into the southern and northern part. And we have a major route of 11.9 kilometers, starting by the bird's nest. And because it's a forest park built for the sake of Olympic Games, so it's closely connected with the sports. It's the heritage of the Olympic Games. And for the Olympic Forest Park, it's also a demonstration site for the sports development in the country. And it's also a site for training, for example, for the ping pong, for the football, for the basketball, and the other sports. We can offer them sites for training. Moreover, we have become the site of warming up for the runners. Every year, we can welcome more than 5 million runners. We are passing by a big cluster of yellow flowers. We have the winter jasmine and also the forsythia here. Some people cannot tell the difference from the winter jasmine and the forsythia. So maybe Mr. Jai, you could give us some explanation. First of all, this is the winter jasmine. It's one of the earliest flowers in Beijing. The blossoming moment is earlier than the forsythia. The flowers are smaller with the winter jasmine. For each flower, 6 petals. And it's in blocks or in huge groups. And for the taller ones, they are the forsythia. Forsythia, they have rounded branches and brownish color. And the branch has a void inside. And for each flower, 4 petals only. The color of a flower of forsythia is stronger than that of the winter jasmine. Winter jasmine has already experienced the peaking moment of the flowers. It's moving towards the end of the blossoming season. But for the forsythia, it's still in the high moment. So now I think it's clear for our viewers the difference between the forsythia and the winter jasmine. So we can go back to the shuttle and continue with our trip. There are many flowers that are confusing, like the apricot flowers, cherry blossoms, peach blossoms. For example, now by the side is the wild peach blossoms. We don't have many flowers of them. Maybe a month ago or 15 days ago, it's the peak moment of the blossoming. What about the color? It's whitish pink of the wild peach blossom. We have actually two types of colors here. One is whitish pink and another is white. As you know, we have different categories of the peach blossoms. They all belong to the same family, but for the wild peach blossoms, they are original to northern part of China. For example, in the mountainous areas of Beijing, you can find a huge number of them. They have only one layer of the petals. Now you can see on the ground the fallen petals. It's already the end of the blooming season of the wild peach blossoms. What about that flower? For the wild peach blossoms, it's only one blossoming season per year. If you miss the flowers this year, then you have to wait for the next year. This is another category of the plum flowers. It has a huge quantity of flowers and also flowers before the leaves. Currently in the gardening sector, we use frequently this category because now we can not see the leaves, and this is called the elm leaf plum because the leaves look like the elm trees. And now we only have the buds of the flowers. How many days should we wait before we can see the full blossoming of the flowers? Maybe tomorrow you can see the first flowers. So if you come to the forest park this weekend, you can enjoy the full blooming flowers. And you can see a large surface of this blooming. And once it's finished with one flower, then there is another type of flower that will take the relay. Just now I mentioned that we have actually more than 2 months of different varieties of flowers. Now we have the winter jasmine and also the forsythia, given the flowers. But coming forward, you have the elm leaf plums and also the crabapples. And we have different varieties of crabapple flowers like the shifu and also the hanging crabapple flowers. How long is the duration of blossoming of the crabapple? Because different varieties of crabapples trees are there. So from earlier April, you can start to have the crabapple flowers and until end of the month. So for a whole month, you can see the crabapple flowers. And over there is the magnolia. In Beijing, among the earlier flowers, one important category is the magnolia. The forsythia and also the winter jasmine, they belong to bushes, and the magnolia, they are trees already because they are taller. Along the Chang'an Avenue and also in the Zhongshan Park, as well as in the Olympic Forest Park, you can find the clusters of the magnolia. But here you can find some special views with our magnolias. It's very well distributed. And we are also passing by some stands for the visitors. Coming this year, we have prepared some services. We have presented the craftsmanship products and also the symbols of cultural heritage. This is one part of our service given to the visitors. For example, the potted flowers made from knitting. This is made of the technique of cultural heritage. During the 2022 Winter Olympics, all the bouquets of flowers are made of the knitting. How long does it take to make such a bouquet? 2 days. Because it takes a lot of time. Thank you. So you can take a bouquet of flowers with you too. And it's also in memory of the Winter Olympic Games. You can keep it as a souvenir. This is our independent brand of jewelry, and we can make the jewelry on site. We can make the silver lines, and we use those silver lines to make flowers. And what is the pattern you are making as the dragon? How long does it take to finish this piece of work? A whole day to make this small piece. So we can have a closer look at it. This is the finished product. The 12 zodiac symbols. And over there you can find some finished products with the patterns of flowers. So you can have a closer look at it. This one has been made only by the fine lines, and you have also the precious stones. The technique to make this product has also been included into the list of cultural heritage. This is a butterfly On the wings of the butterfly, we have created some cherry blossoms. And also the patterns from the traditional Chinese culture. And this one is an elephant. These are all symbols of best wishes for the people. As we mentioned before, the duration of the blossoming can always come to an end. But if you would like to keep the spring with you, you can try one jewelry like this. You can buy one piece of jewelry and then you can bring the spring back to your home and with you every day. This is one of the service that we deliver to our visitors. They can come to the site to enjoy the flowers, and also they can check out these stands for the cultural heritage techniques and also enjoy the products. We have a very beautiful background with the green grassland and also the stands with interesting products. I think that is a very interesting mixture of natural beauty and artificial beauty. Over there is the Olympic Tower, on which we can have the bird's view over the whole Olympic Forest Park. And the philosophy of the design of this Olympic Tower is the tree of life. And this is the highest building carrying the logo of the 5 rings of Olympic Games. And this tower has been inaugurated by the president of IOC, Mr. Bach, in person, and it has been named by Mr. Bach. So today you can also check out this tower. You can mount up to the tower with a height of more than 200 meters, almost 300 meters. You can have the chance to enjoy the beautiful scenery here on the terrace of sightseeing. And over there you can see some willow trees. With the willow trees, they will also have their flowering season, blossoming season. And once it's in the blossoming season, very soon you can see them fly in pieces. It looks like a piece of cotton, or like the flower of the dandelion, but it's carrying the seeds of the willows. Every year during the season of the flying cat king, people allergic to the cat king would be suffering. Some people would have the problem of asthma, and some people would have breathing difficulty. Some people, they really would like to go out and visit the parks to enjoy our beautiful spring flowers. But they are also afraid of the cat king from the willow trees. In our Olympic Forest Park, we have not only the willow trees, but also we have the poplar trees. But the poplar trees can also deliver the cat kings themselves. But we can use some chemicals to curb the spreading of the catkin. Can you bring the amount of catkin from the poplar trees and also the willow trees down to zero? Actually not, even though the chemical is working, but we should not use it every year. Just from some time to time, for example, once every 2 years. And another way is the physical measure, is to have some spraying of water to keep the dust on the ground and keep the catkin on the ground too. With some water spilled on the ground, they can help to grab some catkin on the ground, so there will be less quantity of catkin flying in the air. Some people are also wondering whether it's possible for us to change completely the varieties of trees planted in Beijing, so that we can once and for all solve the problem of the flying catkins. But it will take some time. Our scientific researchers, they are also doing the work. They are doing the selection of the willow trees and the poplar trees, and they are doing some replacing work. But considering the huge quantity of the willow trees as well as the poplar trees, it will take a long time. So for people that are allergic to the catkin and also allergic to the pollen of the flowers, you have to put on the masks so that you will not be disturbed too heavily by these catkins and the flower pollens. This is the apricot tree. Well, they give us the fruits. Actually, these wild apricot trees, they are quite similar to the fruit tree of apricot. But this one is mainly used for flowers. They will give the fruit, but the fruit are not suitable for eating. They are not edible to some extent, and the taste is not very good. In the suburbs of Beijing, for example, in the mountainous areas, you can find a huge amount of these wild apricot trees. They give this pure whitish color of the blossoms. Looks like the clouds, especially when you look at them from distance. In our park, we have more than 200 of these wild apricot trees. And over there, we have some peach blossoms. First of all, you can see the blossoms of the wild apricot trees, and later on is the peach blossoms. That is a kind of relay, so you will never have an empty period for the park. And over there is the peach tree. But still, you can find some buds in preparation. These are cultivated varieties for the gardening. They will give us vivid colors. So not only the green color, they will give us vivid colors. They have usually multiple layers of petals. When can we see the flowers of these trees? You still have to wait for more than 15 days. For example, around mid-April, you come to the site and you can see the flowers. So they will give the blossoms after the apricot trees. In the Olympic Forest Park, we have the Spring Flower Festival. In every corner of the park, you can have the landscape to enjoy. And very soon in July, we can also have an another festival of the sunflowers. We have more than 20 varieties of them. For example, on the 1st of July is the birthday of the CPC. We can use the sunflowers as a gift to the party. Last year, we have cultivated 50 mu of these flowers. And last year, we have also received more than 3 million visitors for a kind of pink flower. This year, we have decided to not only get the flowers ready, but also present services to our visitors to satisfy their needs. And in autumn, for example, in October, until the end of October, we have another festival. We have the trees changing colors. For example, the ginkgo trees and also the maple trees, they will be changing colors. So that is the festival of multiple color trees. Because we have a very large surface, we can have a huge number of varieties of the trees here. In different seasons of the year, you always have the scenery to enjoy. And in winter, you can come here to enjoy the snow, and there are activities organized. So all the 4 seasons, the Olympic Forest Park would give you beautiful sceneries and also satisfying services. We are also building up our cultural brands. Now we have arranged some more efforts to consolidate our brand building. Thank you so much for the introduction. As you can see, the company has dedicated so much effort to ensure a wonderful visiting experience for our tourists. This is a city-based park. If you would like to go to the suburb of Beijing, where should we go? I have invited with us Mr. Zhang Ping and Madam Zhang Ping. If we are looking forward to a walk outside the city, where should we go? For this spring, if you would like to check out the suburbs of Beijing, you can go to Jiangfu Park towards the northeastern part of the city. Over there, you can see some flowers blossoming on the surface of the ground. It's in purple color. When you look at the flowers from distance, you can see a purple sea of flowers. If you would like to have some purple experience, to have like a purple blanket, then you should check out the Jiangfu Park. Then you can also have some places to check out towards the northwestern area of Beijing. You can see the yellow rape flowers. This is an area cultivated by our city. If you would like to see the rapeseed flowers, you don't have to go to southern China. You can just move towards the northwestern area of China. And it's a combination of agricultural practice with the tourist sightseeing. we have reserved a huge surface with hundreds of more of land of rapeseed flower. Those are 3 parks combined, and in all 3 parks we have the rapeseed flowers. One is called Beiwu, another is in Hulou, and the third is called Yuquan. So that is the spot for the rapeseed flowers. And to the southwestern area, we have a Lüdi Park. There you can find wild peach blossoms and wild apricot trees by the side of Wanping Lake. You can see a boat-shaped park. It's a park constructed by the side of the lake. There are no mountains there, but there is a lake. You can find the purple leaf flowers. And there are also birds that you can enjoy, not only the flowers but also the flocks of birds. We'd like to turn it into a paradise of the wildlife and also the citizens of Beijing. Today we are in this mission of turning Beijing into a garden city. So those parks, they are very good examples. We also have the 3-year working plan. We would like to develop one highlight for each of the parks. So that means you have to develop some characteristic products or sightseeing spots of the parks. And there are also pear flowers. And it's called the Park of Jingcheng Liyuan. It's called the Pear Gardens of the Beijing city. You have a lot of pear trees, and it's also germ pleasant station for Beijing city. So it can play this role of education, of biology. Inside, you can enjoy different varieties of the pear trees. And apart from that pear garden, you can go to the southeastern. There's the Hongbo Park. In that park, you can have a huge variety of flowers. For example, forsythia and also the vivid peach blossoms. And also tall trees with flowers, for example, the magnolia. Thank you so much. And just now, Madam Zhang has given us a lot of guidelines about flower seeing on the suburb of Beijing. Today, our administration of forest development has made huge efforts to present the beautiful sightseeing places for our citizens in Beijing. What is the plan for the suburb parks? In recent years, people are paying more and more attention to the suburb parks, so we have upgraded those parks. We have different hierarchies of the parks and different layers of the administrations to take in charge of the management of those parks. For example, there are areas of entertainment, areas of forest experience, and areas for sports exercise. So in the suburb parks, people can have equal access to spring sceneries. In the park, you can not only admire the beautiful spring landscape, but also notice various types of vegetation and flowers. And you can also have some workouts, take some exercises, and also get closer to the forest. So for all of the viewers, especially those that are not in Beijing, I have a recommendation for all of you. Once when you come to Beijing and you already finished visiting the famous tourist sightseeing spots like the Forbidden City and the Great Wall, you can also go check out the suburb parks in Beijing. Towards the end of our live streaming program, I'd like to give an invitation to all of you. Please come to Beijing to enjoy this beautiful blossoming spring. Thank you very much. That is the end of today's live streaming program. Thank you for staying with us.